Hey, fellow astronauts, it's me, Mario, and today we're gonna talk about Shackleton Base once again and Artemis Tours in particular. One of the corporations, one of the three that the rule book suggests you should play on your very first game of Shackleton Base. It's pretty nuanced and one that I like a lot. I know a lot of people find it a bit dull, but I really like it. I mean, I like all the corps pretty much, other than maybe Evergreen Farms. Spoiler alert. Um, but yeah, it's a cool one. It's about bringing tourists to the moon and having them enjoy their time on the moon, right? So we have to provide things to do for them while they're on the moon that are gonna make them happy. Um, this is the overall kind of plan of the corp. The main resource are the tourists themselves. I'm gonna call them astronauts a lot, I know, in this video, but the tourists themselves are the resource of this corp, and you can get them, as always, activating the blue discs on the board. The main mechanic is about getting the tourist, thanks to, again, this resource. Getting them onto your board, you need to have available spaces. So at the start, you're going to have two spaces. So actually, it can be a problem every now and then because they use the same spaces that the astronauts use. So it's kind of a bit of tricky being able to accommodate all of them on your player board. But the thing is, at the end of the round, so three times during the game, you're gonna, send them back to the Earth. They're tourists, after all, they're not astronauts, and you're gonna gain points. How many points you get depends on how many tourists the players got. So if each of us has one, we're gonna get 3 points each. If I have three by myself, I'm gonna get 9 points. But if I have three and you have one, you're gonna get 2 points, and I'm gonna get 6 points. Three times 2 points. So the more the players go for tourists, the less the points they are gonna award to players. So there's some interaction here. Some would say negative interaction here from players because they have to look at each other and see how many points they can get for themselves, while also counting in all the points they are negating to the opponents, which is something that I find pretty cool, honestly. Let's talk briefly about the milestones. The milestones are really about the cards, so I'm gonna explain them a bit more when we go to the card section. Um, but you can fulfill the first, the second, or the third one in the same linear way. You need to have tourists standing up, I guess, one, no? Standing on your cards. So if you have two tourists among your cards, you're gonna get to the first one, three, you can get to the second one, and four tourists on the cards, and you can get the third milestone. How do you get the tourist onto the cards? The cards are like the attractions, the features of your base where you can host them. And you have the corp action. The corp action says that you can take as many tourists as you have on your base and distribute them onto your cards. This is a very convenient action, of course, if you can do it one time per round to put all the tourists that you got on your base onto your cards. But of course, the timing is very tricky. So this is the optimal way to do it, but it's tricky to do so because, again, you need to have enough space to host all the tourists. You need to have cards with spaces on them, and then finally you can use this action. And as we know, the game is all about timing, right? So if you have to time your corp actions properly, so it's not always, actually, I would say that most of the time you won't be able to optimize this action and put all the tourists onto the cards, either because you don't have enough space on your base, so you need to get some tourists, put them on the cards, then get some more tourists and put them on the cards, or because you really need to optimize the timing of the other actions. So while the action itself is very satisfying when you can pull it off at its fullest, you normally have to set for less than that. All right, I would say that that's it for milestones. Pretty fast, right? Pretty easy. Just remember that these Corp is probably the one for which there's the most tension on milestones of all, because you can really fulfill an early milestone with them. Like you can get this card and on the first round, and since normally on the first round you get one card, very rarely two, depending on your overall plans. But you get one card, you can get three astronauts on it, and you can already get the milestone. The thing is, normally you want to wait to get a milestone till you're in the upper part of the reputation track so that you can get the plus points that you can get being over there. But in four players, the game is very tight, and you might actually want to snag a milestone early on. It's even more important in three players. Well, this milestone is not there, so getting 8 points is actually not that different from getting 10 if you're the second one to get the four tourist milestone. So there's a lot of tension with these milestones, and sometimes getting them early is actually very relevant, which is again something that I like. I think it's a tight little package, this Corp, and it's also quite interactive, so I like it a lot. Let's talk about the card themselves. There are 6 out of 9 that can host tourists on them, and the other 3 pretty much give you tourists, give you ways to put tourists on the cards, or give you something to do with tourists. Let's start with the slots first. And as you can see, we have um, where is it? 2 cards that are part of an overall cycle that we've already seen with the Moon Mining Corp, which is do something when you build that is about the Corp, and do something when you fund a card project from another Corp. Both of them are very strong. This is one of the strongest cards in the game, so keep it in mind. This one says that every time that you build, you can move one of the tourists from your base directly onto this card. So you're basically saving a part of this action. You're gonna get the rep bonus, and then you can build using the discount of 1 steel or iron. I think it's steel, of 1 steel per tourist on this card. This is awesome, and you can build immediately when you buy this card. So actually a very good sequence, a very good starting sequence that normally is contested, or players actually actively work to make it worse for you, is that you choose to start with one of your domes close to the tourist, get the tourist, get this card as your first action, and immediately build with a discount. This is already incredibly good, but this card is just so amazingly good. Even in the late game, having a discount of 2 steel per each building action, and you gain the rewards, and getting the tourists themselves is actually good, and you have the slots for the milestones. This card just does it all, and it does it all in a good way, because remember that one thing, maybe we're going to discuss about it later on, but with this faction, you really want to build a bit, and maybe even a bit more than normal, because you really want to have enough space for the tourists on your base. So this card is bonkers. Take it whenever you can. If it's early, this card is gonna be amazing for you. This is another very good early game card. It's very easy. It gives you 4 points. For some reason, this card also gives 4 points, which is to me insane, because again, this card is incredible. But yeah, here you can get 2 tourists to gain 2 and 3 coins, which is very strong on the first round. So this is already a good early game card. But it can also be a late game card, because it's one of the few cards in the game that it's gonna reward you for the amount of credits that you have unspent at the end of the game. Now, most of the time in Shackleton base, you're trying to end the game with just enough coins to pay for your maintenance without losing any rep. But with this card in the game, a lot of other effects that are in the game for other factions, mainly income for coins, for credits, become way stronger. So keep that in mind. This card can give you something like 6 points at the end of the game, plus a strong influx of coins during it, which is pretty good. Apollo 11 Museum is also very strong just because of what it does. It gives you 1 tourist each time that you... I'm gonna say that this is the best card to just get at the start of the game and then forget about this corp for the rest of the game, basically. Why? because you're gonna gain points out of it, so you don't really need to convert anything to make it worth it. And each time that you fund a project from another corp, you're gonna get a tourist. Then you can get a tourist on this card, and bam, you've got yourself the third milestone with just one card and just naturally purchasing cards from the other corps. So all in all, it's just like a one-man band, a one-card band. This one. So it's very strong. 4 points are also very strong on the high end. I'd say that this is something that happens quite a bit for this faction. The strong cards all give strong points, which is pretty cool. This one, it doesn't look that good. It gives you a decent bonus, only 2 slots, but it gives you 1 point each time you gain one of these, which is which makes it pretty good both to focus on Artemis tours, like you can get this card and this card, and you have 4 slots, so you're competing for the third milestone, and you're gonna get points each round for all the tourists that you can get. But it also makes it by itself worth it to thwart the plans of your opponents. You can gain this card. Maybe somebody else is focusing on Artemis tours, then getting a lot of tourists. You can get a tourist because each tourist that you get, it's worth at least 2 points, 1+1, but probably more, and you're taking away points from your opponents by getting over the thresholds to give them less points. So this one is pretty good. Also, all the cards that come with the resource are normally good by themselves. So this card is also pretty solid. I wouldn't say that it's incredibly good, but it's very solid. 3 points, good enough. These 2 cards are 2 other cards that are basically good because they have 3 slots. 3 slots are good for this milestone. And this one is actually pretty good in the early game because whenever you place tourists on a card, you're also gonna get rep. And getting rep in the early game is very good. So both of these cards are good. This one actually, the return of investment is insane here. 3 and 4 coins are just incredibly good, and the 3 points are pretty easy to get, and they're on the second slot instead of the third one. So all in all, the Luxury Resort is also a very strong card. These two are just very strong cards. They work better with other combos, in my opinion, so they don't give you directly tourists like these 2 cards do, and they don't give you a lot of points at the end of the game and straight up coins at the beginning. They are a bit not as good as this one, but I say that they are pretty good and they work well with these 2 other cards that we have over here. This card, again, it gives a tourist immediately, which already makes it worth it. 5 points, that's a fucking lot of points, so take this card, it's gonna be good. And whenever you get a tourist, you immediately can place it on a card. Why is this good? Because, yeah, ideally, you're just saving 1 action overall, which would already be good. But the thing is that you can get them immediately, which means that you don't need space on your base. This is incredibly good for the timing. This faction, again, is a lot about timing. It seems like this action is very good, and it's actually very good if you can pull it off at max efficiency, but most of the time you can't, and with this one, you actually skip this step, and you get immediately a tourist wherever they are needed. So not only you save the action, but you save the space on your base, which is most of the time more relevant. This one is just what most players take a look at and say, this card is fantastic, which it is. I mean, one time, once per round, you can use a corp action to spend 3 credits and gain 3 tourists. This is very good value. Is actually, you can easily calculate this as in 6 extra coins of value. It's like you're converting 3 coins into 9 coins because each base resource is worth 3 coins most of the time. And you're getting 3, which is the ideal number for most of these cards to fill them, and then you can get them and immediately use another action here to place them on the card. You need the space on your base, as we've seen, that can be a problem. So this card is strong. Why isn't it incredibly strong? Because it's worth only 2 points. So while the effect is really good, and it's gonna solve all of your problems, one other thing that people might not notice is that this works really well when you have a lot of cards of these factions, like maybe you have this one, this one, this one, and this one. So you can easily get enough tourists to fill it all and gain a lot of points. Because remember, all the tourists that you're gonna get are also gonna become points at some point, haha, at the end of the round. But not only that, it will let you not place down many discs. So it can work pretty well um, because you can get tourists without having to place down discs, which are gonna make other cards more expensive. So it works quite well if you're quite into Artemis tours and you don't want to make cards more expensive. The last one is a very weird one, so we have to discuss it a bit more than the other ones. It's worth 3 points, which is all right. Once per round, you can send a tourist to right over here to the moon center. I forgot how this one is called. Over here and perform this action. So why is this good? Well, it's pretty good because you're taking a main action, which is going over here, as a corp action. And that's very good, of course. Corp action, a corp action value is probably a bit less than a third of an action, depending on if you're at the end of the game or if you're at the beginning. At the beginning, it's worth less than 1/3, I think. And at the end, it's worth very close to 1/3 of an action. So you're saving 2/3 of an action. That's already pretty good. But the other cool thing is that you can send the tourist from one of the spaces you've already collected the reward from, and then you can get more tourists and gain that benefit again. So all in all, a lot of small things that can work pretty well. It's not high in my evaluation just because sometimes the timing can be tricky. Sometimes you don't have or you don't want to take this action. There are games in which this action is very good most of the time when the robotic faction is in the game. In other games, you're not gonna take it a lot. It depends a lot. So this card's value fluctuates a bit between games. So we've discussed about all of the cards. Now I'm just gonna real quick discuss about the effects this corp has on the game. The first effect is that you shouldn't leave somebody on this faction alone. The amount of points that you can rank up with minimal efforts are incredible with this faction. So if somebody's got 3 tourists and nobody else is taking a tourist, that's insane. This guy is gonna gain 9 points, which is a fucking good return of investment. So the effect on the game is that everyone should dip at least a bit into this faction. The second part is that the milestones are actually very contested and very easy to get once you get a bit of these guys. So I honestly, this is the case for most factions, but for this one especially, you should really try to get a card and fill it with 2 astronauts. It's just easy getting to 2 or 3 astronauts that you should do it regardless. And again, letting somebody use this faction alone is not good for your health. He's probably gonna run out with the game. It happened to us more than once, actually. So yeah, remember that this faction is probably not your main focus most of the time. Again, we've seen that you don't need that big of an effort to get to the 3rd milestone. So not the center of your attention, like, for example, moon mining could be, or to Mars could be, but it should always fit into your plans in some way. You can, as we've seen, get many cards or get just a few cards, but you need to do something with this faction. And the last effect is this faction really wants you to build. To build maybe not a lot, but probably at least 1 lab, just because you need the space. You really need the space to optimize his action and just to be able to play a normal game. You know, in a normal game, you're gonna get astronauts from the crater, from the lunar gateway. That's the name, lunar gateway. From the crater, from the lunar gateway, place them on your board so that you can get income or you can activate some juicy effects. And it's even more important when this faction is in the game, because you really want the space to gain at least to accommodate at least one or two tourists per round, I would say. Which is why I've got both two Mars and Evergreen farms over here. These are two other corps that really want you to build a lot. So when this faction is in a game, the board will become a wild thing. You really need the space to host all the tourists, and these two factions are gonna do a lot of things with the buildings you're gonna build. So when one of these two is in the game along with Artemis Tour, keep in mind that the name of the game is building, which is, once again, why this card could be totally crazy. Right. I would say that that's it for today or tonight here in Italy. Um, See you next time. Mario's out. Bye bye.